and then a clever case. What I'm going to show you is that today we have over-punishment. That means that those people that the opposition are talking about are getting harmed too much under the status quo. And therefore we're saying what we're going is to do something that is a lot more similar to how they really should be harmed. Therefore, even if they think this is some kind of harm towards the criminal, they need to balance it out against the harm that happens to him today because he's over-harmed today. But before that, quite a bit of a harm. So, first of all, they say, oh, it's an opportunity to commit once-in-a-lifetime crime. So, A, if the results of this once-in-a-lifetime crime is what they say, that indeed you would be forever weak and targeted by others, many people, we think, won't opt for that option. But B, please notice, most people don't want to commit crimes, not even once. Like, obviously not to the extent of, let's murder someone just one time to see how it feels like. So not how regular people think. This is so far removed. In fact, we say, since most crimes in society are done by the same, not even all criminals, but like the 10% of top criminals who commit most of the crimes, we think that probably you would have less crimes overall, even if literally every single person in society would decide to create one crime once, okay? Secondly, they say, oh, but there are great prisons. Okay, so those prisoners would choose to stay in the great prisons instead of taking our nuts. Then they say, oh, but this is important. It is impossible to have this algorithm, so clearly the only, what we can assume is that they no longer get to be violent even in self-defense. One of them, I knew them. A, the A-team gave us that fear. This is what's known as a thought experiment. We can think this, so it happens. This is what you have to do with the debate. This is like philosophy. Come on, guys. Secondly, we never said you cannot make any violence. You need to never do something that is illegal. Please notice, violence is not illegal. If you're a policeman, you can be violent. If someone attacks you, you can be violent. If you're making a mistake, you may be violent by mistake. So this exactly is not preventing violence. They are just assumed it for no reason. We say it is likely that they just prevent you from doing illegal things. Very interesting how he does it, very irrelevant to the debate. But let's say all of this doesn't matter, okay? They are indeed cannot make violence. A, guard them specifically because you know they're likely to be targets. B, if that is true, they are not likely to be targets because then the people who are targeting them are going to be those people in like 5 years down the line when they are tried and processed, right? So we think it's very unlikely they would take this risk if it's so hard. And lastly, we're saying, if it's so bad, why they would ever choose them? Now, on that, they have some analysis. They say, why would they choose that? A, because they don't understand the consequences. A, tell them about the consequences. B, given the fact that many of the people who would be in jail are apparently people who previously targeted people with chips, so probably they would learn about it from literally their own cellmates. And lastly, if they have optimism bias, make sure that you have some kind of stop, right? Like they decide this, 6 more months in jail, then they get out, okay? And then you can make sure it's not about optimism, it's really something that they held for 6 months. This is like so mechanistic, I can't even. Then, oh, and then we had, then they said, this is a right that you don't get to opt into. We don't understand why, since their state already today states you cannot make crimes. This is a right already taken from you by the state at large. So we really don't understand how is it such an important thing for everyone to have. But then they say, wait, if the state doesn't enable it at large, why not put a chip into every person? So we have 2 answers on that. A, practicality, those seems like very expensive chips we don't want to put in the entire population. But B, more importantly, on principle, we're saying, look, the basic principle says citizens have rights. Since they have those rights, states need reasons, good reasons, to infringe on those rights. Not just the fact that this is exactly our case, right? This is the deontology on our side. We do not say that if we can take your right to help anyone else, then we should do it. This is utilitarianism that we're not for, and opposition is not for. We are saying that you can only take a person's right if you have a good reason to believe he's going to use it against someone else. For the majority of the population, we don't have this reason to believe. So for the majority of the population, we would never do it. Only people that we know that have done it before. And lastly, they say, what about thieves opting in to having their hands cut off? A, you need your arms for other things. We really don't know why you need your ability to commit a crime. Secondly, to the extent that you need arms, okay? Secondly, there are other like non-hands crimes, right? Like there are no crimes. Like this analogy doesn't work. But lastly, this is important, and here I get to my guess. This is what happens today. We replaced cutting off thieves' arms with putting them in jail for a long time. This may seem like a different damage, but we think it's somewhat the same, and we are making it better. Why? Because we're saying under status quo there is over-punishment. There is a reason for it. Everyone is afraid of criminals, and no one wants to stand up for criminals. They are the outcasts of society. They have no political power. There is no one who has them on their side, and they are a minority, so obviously the majority has more power. So we're saying there is always demand for them to be punished higher and higher. Now, they're not like to absurdly extremes getting punished too much, but they are likely to be punished more than they actually deserve. Before I move on,
if in this sci-fi universe the state knows with 100% certainty that pregnancy will make me happier, is the state allowed to impregnate me?
No, because you have rights, and the state, as we said, is not obligated to your happiness. You do not have a right to happiness. You have a right to what we consider as rights, such as autonomy, such as freedom of movement, all those things that we get. And this actually gets us to my point. When we put someone in jail, and as we said, we over-punish them, we take away those many rights just for the prospect that maybe I would save others, right? Now we're saying, if indeed he would use those rights to harm others, that may be justified. But what happens today is not only this is unjustified under our mechanism, because that person would never commit a crime again, we are harming them too much. We are maybe not cutting their arms, but we are definitely cutting a finger of two, just so other people are happy that this people is punished a bit more and they can feel a bit safer. But you do not get to make others happy by taking away their rights. The state is not obligated to your happiness, it's obligated to keep your rights. You do not have the right to commit a crime. Therefore, we're saying we're proud to